Hello and welcome to another episode of the Spartan Army podcast, proudly brought to you by Jaff's Decorating Services. Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in to a new episode. My name is Kyle Patterson, and on this week's episode we'll be hearing from Bradley Whyte as the Spartans midfielder gives his thoughts on the season so far. We'll also be hearing from Ben from Annan Athletic on what the Spartan Army can expect ahead of this week's crunch tie against Annan Athletic. We'll also be hearing from Chris Sim, the Spartans women's assistant head coach, and also from Paul McMillan, otherwise known as MICKTO, and what he does at the football club and also the community foundation on a day-to-day basis. But where to start off this week, we'll start with Saturday's past result. And reflecting now on a disappointing weekend just past as Spartans continue to try and keep the pressure on East Kilbride. There is still only 1 point in it at the top of the William Hill SPFL League 2. That's not necessarily because both teams won at the weekend. It is actually, in fact, because both teams lost at the weekend. Yeah, a disappointing one for Spartans as they took on Stranraer at the Vanlock Community Stadium. It was a great start for the visitors. Sulu Turi opened the scoring within 6 minutes. He got in behind the Spartans defence and then fired past Blair Carswell. Then 5 minutes before half-time, it was Spartans who drew level terms, and it is a 19th League 2 campaign goal for Mark Stowe. Cammy Russell managed to square it across the face of goal, and that man Stowe was there to tap it in on the 40th minute mark. Spartans started the second half rather well, having a few chances, but the Stranraer threat was always there as they continue to push for that last promotion playoff place. And on the 73rd minute, Stranraer got their reward. Aaron Quigg fired past Blair Carswell and made it 2-1 to the visitors. Spartans pushed in the final 15 minutes. And unfortunately, it was Stranraer to took all 3 points back down the road to Stair Park. So disappointing a result for Spartans on Saturday. They'll be looking to put it right against Annan Athletic this weekend. We'll touch on that in just a little moment. But before we do, a huge congratulations to Kieran Watson. Kieran is March's Spartans FC Player of the Month. It's a very, very big well done to Kieran, who picks up the award for his outstanding efforts in March, and he gets Intelligent Business Water Spartans Men's Player of the Month. He was presented with his award with Spartans fan Grim over the course of last week. And then also Spartan Army, great news as the PFA SPFL Team of the Year was announced on Thursday of this week, and Spartans managed to get 3 players in it. Goalkeeper Paddy Martin, striker Mark Stowe, and defender Ayrton Sonker awarded the places in this year's PFA Player of the Year Awards Team of the Season for League 2. So massive congratulations to them. And of course this Saturday they three, along with others, will be looking to make sure that Spartans continue to pick up points as the business end of the season does really kick in. I spoke with Ben from Annan Athletic on what Spartan Army can expect this weekend down in Annan. Joined by Ben from Annan Athletic ahead of this Saturday's William Hill SPFL League 2 side. Hello Ben, how are you doing?
Kyle, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. All good. Looking forward to the trip coming down on Saturday to Annan. Just reflecting on last week's result, not the best result for us, but a cracking win for you up at Elgin. How did the game go?
Yeah, it was a great win up at Elgin. A long day, but great to get the 3 points. Yeah, it was quite an even first half, but we nicked the goal. It was an own goal towards the end of the first half, and then second half it was complete dominance from start to finish in the second half. Great to see Tommy Goss on the score sheet, and then obviously Willie Gibson getting his penalty. So overall, a great day all round. The only disappointing thing is Willie Gibson picked up his 18th booking of the league season, so he'll be out for Saturday's game.
18th. Wow, is that a record in the league so far? I think that's one of the top ones. But in talking about Billy Gibson, of course, a PFA Player of the Season, Team of the Season, I should say, has just came out for League 2 as well. So, and he's the only Annan player to make it. So he's had some impact both on the pitch and on the sideline this season as well for you, Ben.
Yeah, 41-year-old, he's still probably, in my opinion, the best or one of the best players in the league. Just what he can do on the ball, he creates chances out of nothing. Set pieces are phenomenal, and he's really contributed to our success this season, both on and off the park. It's also been an up and down season for ourselves, but we're still in the playoff hunt, so positive to take, and hopefully we can finish the season high.
Definitely, that comes on to my next point for you, Ben. It's been an up and down season, I should say, for Annan Athletic. You know, it's been a mixture of different results, but coming to this stage of the season, you're still 3 points off fourth place, and you know that last playoff position is up for grabs, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, a great win for us, but we're hoping the top two sides in the league could take points off against Forfar and Stranraer, but that didn't seem to be the case. But that really sums up the league this season. Anyone can beat anyone, and you do expect results like that in this league. We've seen it before. But no, we've won four out of our last 6 games, so we're keeping it alive going to the last few.
And obviously, last season you obviously came down from League One. Is it for the fans and for the players they're wanting to bounce right back up to League One this season? Is that a goal for Annan?
Yeah, definitely is a goal. Obviously, relegation hurts and you're wanting to get right back up the season after, but I think when you look at the budgets, we're on the lower end of League Two, so punching above our weight slightly in League One. Although we did have good performances and results in there, and probably unlucky to go down, but I think first season back in League Two, obviously up and down like we've previously talked about, but it's not been too bad. Positives to take, and also if we don't get the playoffs this season, and if we don't go up, still plenty to build on and improve, and have a real good go at it next season.
Yeah, definitely. And the games that we've played with you this season, obviously 1-0 back in August with Ethan Drysdale scoring a late winner, and then coming down to Annan, I believe it was in November, and getting that 1-1 draw with Muir scoring and James Craig equalising. The 4-0 game a couple of about a month or so ago now, with Mark McNulty scoring a hat trick, and Mark Stowe really was a great performance from Spartans those on that day. But those past performances, the draw and the 1-0 win, shows you how close the games have been between us this season.
Yeah, exactly. There's not a lot of difference in quality between the 10 sides in the league. It's as simple as that. And even in that 4-0 game, it was a pretty even first half, in my opinion anyway. And then obviously just into the second half, not even a minute into the second half, we're down to 10 men. Obviously becomes out of our reach after 2 quick fire goals, but it's just been competitive games between 2 sides so far, so hopefully we'll have another great game on Saturday.
That's it. And for the Spartan Army who can get down on Saturday and maybe not seen Annan Athletic against Spartans this season, what's to look out for from an Annan point of view? What should Spartans fans expect from Annan Athletic on Saturday?
Well, obviously in the football aspect of it, it's going to be a great game. 2 sides with plenty to play for, so hopefully a big crowd of both home and away fans. But the real experience down at Annan is not just about football, it's about going to the clubhouse, which is one of the best in the league. It's a real community ground, lots to do. And yeah, it's quite popular amongst away fans. They all seem to quite like the atmosphere inside the club. Obviously, the clubhouse is open to both home and away fans, so any away fans coming down can make use of that pre and post match.
Definitely, Ben. Thank you for joining us on the Spartan Army podcast, proudly brought to you by Jaff's Decorating Services. All the best for the rest of the season as well, including Saturday. You've got Clyde away, then Forfar on the last game of the season, so it could be some tasty ties to come for yourself. You can now get tickets for Annan Athletic versus Spartans on Annan's fanbase app. Just head to the Spartan social media platform at Spartans FC to get the link for your ticket. Ben, thanks once again. So it was great to speak to Ben from Annan Athletic, and the Spartan Army can really go down there with some confidence. Only actually played 3 league games against Annan, of course. Annan promoted last year, and then this year so far, the first meetings between the sides in the league. Back in August, Spartans winning by 1 goal to 0 thanks to an 87th minute strike from Ethan Drysdale. Then down at Gallowbank in November, I should say, it was a 1-1 draw. James Cragen getting Spartans level in the first half strike with that one, and then just more recently a 4-0 win against this Saturday's opposition, MICKTO, and in the act, Mark McNulty got his hat-trick in a comprehensive 4-0 victory for the Spartans. Well, for Annan, their last 5, 2 losses, 3 wins, they're on 40 points. They're 3 points off the last playoff promotion place where Stranraer currently occupy it. Aidan Smith is their top goal scorer with 9 goals as well. Worth noting that their manager is also player manager, I should say, is also in the PFA Team of the Year, Willie Gibson. He's suspended, as Ben was saying, for this Saturday's tie against the Spartans after picking up his 18th yellow card of the season against Elgin at the weekend. So another tough game for Spartans, and ahead of that, I managed to grab a little word with Bradley Whyte about his Spartans career so far, a little bit about how he got into football and how he views the season so far. Here's Bradley Whyte with myself earlier in the week. So back on the Spartan Army podcast, brought to you by Jaff's Decorating Services, here with Bradley Whyte. Brad, how are you?
Not too bad yourself.
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Thanks for joining us this week on the podcast. A little bit about yourself, first of all. Obviously, the Spartan Army know you and your time here at the Spartans Football Club. But you started off at Musselburgh, and it was 5 years at Musselburgh, 138 appearances before signing with us here at Ainsley Park. How was your time at Musselburgh?
Fond memories back at Musselburgh. It was, to be honest, it was a bit of a strange scenario how it came about, because I got released off Hibs, and then my friend was actually playing at Musselburgh at the time, and just being young, I went out on a night out, and it was Musselburgh Athletics sort of end of year player presentation night, and then Calvin Shannon was my coach at Hearts a couple of years before, and just a drunken conversation, and he said, "Do you want to come down and train?" But I was going to sign with my mate's team who was at Musselburgh Windsor, and they were under 19s at the time, so I was kind of going to go there, and then the conversation happened with Calvin. I thought, sort of tongue-in-cheek stuff, both steaming, that'll be forgot about. And fair play to Calvin, he texted me on I think it was a Monday morning, and said, "Listen, do you want to come on train on the Tuesday?" And just now look back from there, and absolutely loved my time. It was brilliant.
And then moved to North Edinburgh with Spartans. So far, 188 appearances, 23 goals, 6 goals this season as well. But you started off that season that we won the Lowland League. How was winning the Lowland League with the team?
Oh, it was brilliant. Listen, that season's probably my best season in terms of achievements. It's a very hard task to go from the Lowland League to League Two. I think it's very underlooked how hard it is. But yeah, it was brilliant. I think we got absolutely spot on that year in terms of players we brought in. The Gaffer brought in Tappy, Rico, boys like that. We just brought so much quality to the team, and we were really, really good. I think looking back at my 6 months before, I don't know if I was maybe going to get sold again. I started off well, scored a goal on my debut, but then after that, I was pretty poor for that 6 months, and then the next season to go and win the Lowland League was a different class.
And then from winning the Lowland League, games against Brecon, which some of our fans can't remember, especially after that second leg, and then beating Albion. What memories do you have looking back on winning that playoff and into the SPFL?
Do you know what? I remember going to Brecon away, and I remember when it went sort of, I can't remember if it went 1-0 last and then 2-1, then we went back to 2-2 and then 3-2, I think it was. I remember thinking, like, during the game, I just hope the season doesn't end on penalties. And then when it went to penalties, I'm going, oh, no. But no, it was great to come through. And then, to be honest, the first leg against Albion, that's a bit of a blur as well. I don't really remember too much of that game, but the second game I thought were really good. A lot of chances. And to be honest, I think when you look back, it was more than deserved.
Yeah, definitely. And coming into the SPFL football, obviously first time for Spartans into League Two, and that first season was just so many historic memories because so many firsts happened, and we beat going into the SPFL season. Our very first game as the SPFL club was against Dundee United here at Ainsley Park with over 2,000 people here, beating Jim Goodwin's team. How good was that as a first game as a SPFL status?
I know that was it was different class. I think when I go from like my first game at Musper, I think it was like Taper away to then playing Dundee United and beating them. It was like, wow, couldn't really believe it had happened. But I think there's just something about when we play bigger teams that maybe suits the players we have sitting in, maybe playing on the counter attack. It really does suit us. And obviously on that day, Cats pulled off a penalty save from Tony Watt. And, you just kind of knew after that it was going to be your day.
How is it to play again? You mentioned it there, obviously playing with Musselburgh against Tayport, but over the past couple of years, playing against the likes of, again, Dundee United again earlier this season, the likes of Falkirk, who are doing extremely well in the Premiership, and then that game against Hearts. It's what you dream of growing up, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I think looking back at the Hearts game, the one thing I remember is my mates being on the hill. And then when Craigs's volley goes in, I remember turning around and giving them a bit, because I'm actually standing on top of the goalkeeper, Craig Gordon.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of see it as the ball goes in. I turned around, I faced the fans, I can see them standing, and I go to give them a bit. But no, great memories of that game. It was, again, just unfortunate we never quite got over the line, but I think when you look back, it was a good performance from us and a solid effort.
So 6 goals so far this season. Obviously, we still in the hunt for promotion automatically by winning the league. Difficult result to take on Saturday, as obviously results elsewhere, but we just have to focus on ourselves. And the cliche is you have to take it game by game, and with 3 games to remain, and we just have to remain focused on ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. It's not in our hands anymore. We are kind of nearing East Kilbride to drop points, but we just need to take care of business ourselves, go and win the remaining 3 games, and that's all we can really do. And yeah, it's obviously frustrating Saturday. I think when we look back, it was probably maybe a draw would have been fair, but you can't dwell on it. I think we spoke about it during the week there, and it's time to move on and just knuckle down for the next 3 games and try and get over the line. And I think the boys are still confident we can definitely do it.
Definitely. And then finally, looking back on this season, I wish all the players that play for Spartans were in the PFA Player of the Year team, but 3 of them have made it. Paddy Martin, Ayrton Sonker and Mark Stowe. 3 of them made a big contribution to the team this season.
Yeah, thoroughly deserved from all 3 of them. I actually thought a couple of other boys might have had a chance of getting as well, but they 3 have been brilliant for us. I think Sonk's the last 2 seasons, to be honest, been really good. He got Player of the Year last year. Stowe comes in, he's just goals and pace, and he's everything you want in a forward player. And then Paddy again, he's had big shoes to fill coming in with Cat, because Cat's an outstanding goalkeeper as well. But fair play to Paddy, he's came in, he's done really well, and he's kept another very good goalkeeper out the team. So no, fair play to him. They've all been brilliant, and yeah, testament to him getting into Team of the Year.
Brad, thank you very much for joining us on the Spartan Army podcast, brought to you by Jaff's Decorating Services. It's always good to hear from Bradley Whyte on his thoughts on how this season has gone, and also how vital the next 3 games are in Spartans' push for promotion. Of course, Annan on Saturday, Elgin in our last home game on the 25th, and then away to Stirling Albion on the 2nd of May for our last league game of the season. If you cannot make it to any of these games, do not worry. Spartans FC TV have you covered. Each game will be live and exclusive for rest of the world viewers. So if you're overseas going into May, you can view the games live on our streaming platform. Okay, looking forward then, Spartans under 20s have a massive game on Friday the 17th of April, 7:45 kickoff as they take on Stirling University at Stirling. They are in the semi-finals of the Combined Challenge Cup. I've been told that this Combined Challenge Cup is very much like the Scottish Cup in the men's senior world, so it's a massive game for Les Atkinson's team. Keep up to date with everything going on social media platform Spartans FC, and it is on the back pitch if you're travelling up to Stirling to see Stirling University against Spartans. And once again, everyone here at the Spartan Army podcast wishes Les Atkinson's team all the best in their quest to get a trophy this season. Alrighty, just a quick note to that. This past week's East of Scotland Cup final between Spartans and Linlithgow Rose was postponed, and that will now take place hopefully in pre-season. Thank you for joining us on the Spartan Army podcast, proudly brought to you by Javs Decorating Services.
Hi, Spartans Women's Captain Robin McCafferty here. Thank you for listening to the Spartans Army podcast, brought to you by Javs Decorating Services.
So you're back with us on the Spartan Army podcast, proudly brought to you by Javs Decorating Services. I'm very excited this morning to be joined by the Spartans Women Assistant Head Coach, Chris. Chris, good morning.
Good morning.
Good stuff. Thanks for coming on the podcast this morning. And first of all, just a little bit of information about yourself. Who are you? Obviously, I've gave your title away already, but what do you do at Spartans?
So at the moment, assistant head coach to Jack. Kind of assisting him on pitch and off the pitch. Also do the analysis for the girls as well. So that's kind of split between myself and one of the other coaches at the moment. So pulling all that together, just ensuring they've got all the information and the data and everything they need to know about not only the teams we're playing against, but who were how they're getting on this season as well in terms of the performances and the improvements that they're doing throughout the season. So yeah, busy, very busy.
I can imagine a busy time as well, especially with the run into the season, end of the season as well. We were just talking there, a little bit of a break just now, which maybe goes against us because we're in great form. I was speaking to Jack last week. I think it's a club record 8 wins in a row, and only conceded 7 goals this season across all games in the league. Is it a bit of a, I'm trying to think of the correct word here, but is it a bit of a momentum killer, do you think?
A little bit. I think we've been really good at keeping the girls ticking over. We've got a bounce game tonight, which is great. But it has been a little bit of a momentum killer. We've won the first 5 games. We went into the split with a target in mind, and we're well on our way to that just now. But having almost 3 weeks without a game has been tough, and even as a coaching staff, it's we're talking every day, and we're talking about kind of how we're building up towards the next bank of games, and I'm sure the players are doing the same. But coming off the back of some really good performances and really good results, it's it's just been a bit of a stop start. But we're looking forward to getting back into it next week and a few games back to back.
Good stuff, and obviously it's been a difference from last season, as I said, talking to Jack and Robin earlier on in the weeks of the podcast, and for going to SWPL 1, which just now is such a strong league with so many full-time teams as well. It's always difficult as a part-time team, as we see just now in the SWPL 1, like Hamilton and even Aberdeen that are struggling. So in sense of being relegated last year, no one wants to be relegated. It hurts, it really does. But it gives us a fresh start and a new opportunity. Is that how you and Jack saw it?
Yeah, we did, and we were very fortunate to keep a hold of a lot of the players that played last season, particularly in the back line. We loved last season. We really did. We really enjoyed it. We really enjoyed going up against the full-time teams, and I think the players really enjoyed it as well. We understand where we are. We understand we're part-time. We've not got all the the bells and whistles that the full-time teams will get. However, we performed really, really well against the full-time teams last season. We took a few sore ones, but in the main we performed well. We defended well. We held our heads high. But going into this season, we knew it was still going to be a challenge. We'd lost some good players that we had last season, replaced them with equally as good players. But Kilmarnock has kept hold of their squad. Boroughmuir had strengthened, Dundee United had definitely strengthened as well. So we knew it was going to be really, really difficult this season. But new challenges, new teams to play against, and it was a really good challenge for us. And we've been enjoying it this season. Yep.
Good. And just to touch on this season itself, as you said, started the campaign off well, and this run has been incredible. I mean, Alicia in goals has managed to keep so many clean sheets over a consecutive, amount of games. So for the start of the season, it was really kicking on, finding out about these new teams, and it is a league that you play the teams quite a lot as well, then going into the split. How have you viewed the season so far? And obviously, Kilmarnock are 7 points ahead. And credit where credit's due, they've been very stubborn, they've been frustrating to play against. So is second about right in your eyes?
Yeah, probably from a consistency standpoint, probably, Kilmarnock have definitely been the most consistent team up until very recently. We were the first team to beat them this season. We were disappointed not to beat them the last time we were down at Rugby Park, having probably played it was probably our best performance of the season down there, up to that point. So yeah, you've got to give credit to Kilmarnock. They have been consistent, and I know Jim quite well, and he's and the players, as I mentioned before, they kept that squad largely complete from the season prior, so that probably helps with that continuity. So second place is probably where we deserve to be, and obviously points tell you that. But we're now starting to show what we're about. It might be too late in terms of the title, but we'll see what these next 5 games bring us, and we'll look to try and take 15 out of 15. That's the plan anyway. So
Football's a funny game.
Absolutely.
You never know what's going to happen. Just touching on Spartans and the record when it comes to young players, because last season we still had one of the youngest, on average, teams in the SWPL 1, and I think gave so many minutes to players under 21s, and it's very similar this season as well as a young squad. And that's getting noticed. Look at Izzy Young this week, starting for Scotland under 19s, I think it was. And then you look at the older generation as well. We've got Arthur Cummins, who's on the bench for Scotland women's national team. You've got the likes of Callie and Michaela, who got called up and Hannah Jordan, who got called up for the under 23s, playing in Spain. So, the opportunity is there for the players. If they're performing well at the club, they can go and represent their nation.
Yeah, absolutely, and we pride ourselves on that side. Ultimately, we're in the business to win games of football, but within that, we want to make sure we're developing the players. And we've got Izzy on loan, we've got Chloe on loan, we've got others on loan just now who have been sent to us to develop as players, and hopefully they'll go on and have really good careers in the game. But ultimately, our job as a coaching staff is to ensure that these players are getting as much development, as much game time as possible. And Izzy, Nat, Chloe, Rachel, they've all been brilliant, they've all been excellent, and they've all really helped us get to where we are at the moment. And hopefully, if we do manage to get promoted this season, these players will stick by us, and we can then really kick on into next season. So yeah.
Definitely, it's a great occasion. Going into the final games, obviously we talked at the start. There is a little bit of a gap. Next game against Kilmarnock, then I believe it's Queen's Park on the Wednesday night.
Right, yeah.
For the Spartan Army, who's coming down, obviously it's for both teams, the men's and the women's. It's vital that the fans come down and give their full support to both teams. What should they expect from the women's team over the next couple of games? I know it's an old cliche, but they just have to take it game by game at the minute.
Yeah, exactly. We do have to take it game by game. We don't want to get look too far ahead. Kilmarnock game's massive. Our new target, like I said, was to basically secure second place as quickly as possible and see where that takes us. 3 points on Friday will give us that really good opportunity with only 4 games remaining. We've got a good gap between ourselves, Queen's Park and Boroughmuir just now. So what to expect from us going into next Friday and the games remaining is pretty much the same as what we've had over the last 5 games, where we've gained a lot of confidence. We've been building that confidence game by game over the last 5 games, and I think the girls are starting to just play with that intensity and tempo and freedom. We just spoke about that this week actually, about the freedom that they're starting to play with just now, and I think it's really helping us in terms of those just shots on target, plenty of chances of creating, and really exciting football. So yeah, they should be really excited to watch us over the next few weeks, because we are as coaching staff. So
good stuff. And obviously, if you can't get down to Kilmarnock on that Friday evening, I know it's a big ask. Stay tuned to Spartans FC Women. Alice is doing great jobs on all the social media platforms this season as well, giving you some great content out of the girls' training sessions. So definitely keep an eye out for that on our social media platform at Spartans FC Women. But Chris, for yourself, growing up and getting into football, what was that like for you? Have you got any footballing idols that you looked to while growing up, and then how did you get into the coaching side of it?
yeah, well, I'm a Hearts supporter, so things are good at the moment. But in terms of my younger days, I had no choice. My whole family's Hearts supporters. Went to my first game when I was 3 years old, weirdly at Love Street against St Mirren. So Tynecastle wasn't my first game, but my dad took me to Love Street on a random Saturday. But I've just been obsessed with football. I was never a player, to be honest. I was never that good, and the girls will tell you that just now when I get involved in some of the training sessions. Zara Andrews actually managed to lob me from 40 yards the other day there, so I take that on the chin. But no, like I say, I've just in terms of getting into coaching, I'm watching it every day. I've got it on the telly. I'm one of those you're kind of looking at it. Now it's different. Back then you're looking at it as a fan and going, I would do that, I would do this. Now it's different because you're within the game and you're starting to see different things. But my partner at the time was just like get involved in football. Going and I started coaching at a local boys club and then just started doing my licenses from there and went through a university course just recently as well, which kind of helped me through some more licenses and just broadened my learnings in terms of the psychology and the physiology and the analysis side of the game, which has been great. So pretty much 40 odd years of just watching and being obsessed with football has got me to this point. So
that's good. I mean, as you said, football's for everyone. Everyone finds their way. It doesn't matter if we weren't a player, but obviously getting into the coaching the Spartans women's team as well. And then finally, Chris, this morning for Spartans women to gain promotion, obviously would be a big thing to bounce straight back.
Yep.
How much would that mean to you if the Spartan Army would come down and support you to try and get that goal done?
Yeah, I think it's huge it's huge for the players to see as many people in the stands and in the stadium as possible. We can hear it. Yeah, we can hear it in the dugout. I know the players can hear it, the support, and we can do something special this season. We can finish the season really, really well and hopefully replicate what we've done in the last 5 games in the next 5 games, because if we do that, we give ourselves a really, really good chance. And whoever it is that we've got in the playoff, they'll be fearing us, absolutely, and we're very confident that going into the first game of the playoff game, whoever that may be, and then if we manage to get through that into the playoff final, the team from the league above, will absolutely be fearing us because we're playing well just now. And we just need to continue that. So, yeah.
Amazing. Perfect. Chris, thank you very much for joining us on the Spartan Army podcast morning. Very best of luck next Friday against Kilmarnock, and then we'll be back at home against Queen's Park on Wednesday the 29th of April, 7:45 kickoff. Get your tickets available now on the Fanbase app. So a trip to Annan this coming Saturday, but next Saturday, 25th of April, Spartans take on Elgin in the last home league game of the season. You can have your opportunity to sponsor the match. There is limited availability also in hospitality. You can visit spartansfc.com or stay tuned to our social media platform for more information on how you can get involved in the last home league game of the season. Once again, your opportunity to sponsor the match and get into hospitality. Stay tuned for more information.
Thank you for listening to the Spartans Army podcast, brought to you by Jaff's Decorating Services.
So you're back with us on the Spartan Army podcast, proudly brought to you by Jaff's Decorating Services. Really excited to be joined this morning by Paul McMillan, also known as MICKTO, who is the Spartans FC Safety Officer and the Spartans Community Foundation's Operations Manager. MICKTO, good morning.
How you doing, Kyle? Thanks for having me, mate.
Good stuff. Good to have you. A little bit of an opportunity, first of all, for the Spartan Army to know a little bit more about you, if they don't know you already. From a Spartans Football Club aspect, what is it that you do?
So I'm the qualified safety officer for the football club, and that obviously undertakes match day operations, organising sort of match day, everything from stewarding to medical provision, liaising with the other team, see what the other team or the opposition are bringing in terms of fans, and just sort of really risk assessing the whole match, seeing what we need staff wise, obviously stewarding wise, and ultimately making sure that everybody arrives safely and everybody leaves safely and everybody enjoys the game. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
And you've been at Spartans for a while now, haven't you?
I joined the foundation January 2009. So 4 weeks, actually 4 weeks after the academy opened in December 2008. So what's that, 17 and a half years or something like that. So a long time. So when I first joined, the first year I was there, the football club were still playing at City Park, and then they made the transition and came over to Ainsley Park the sort of following season. So, aye, first 2 seasons I did was a grass pitch,
Right, aye.
so that was pretty challenging in terms of in the winter you were on forking it every all morning and up to your knees in mud. But it's obviously a bit different now. We're lucky that Lindsay just comes on at 12 o'clock and brushes it and spruces it up a bit. So, aye, big difference.
And you've seen, talking about difference, you've seen a massive difference over the years. I mean, from East of Scotland football to the change into the Lowland League football, and then finally the SPFL allowing that Lowland League pyramid system. How is it for your job role with the football club, going from a Lowland League to crowds of maybe, or even to East of Scotland to crowds of maybe like 75 to 150 folk, to the Lowland League to maybe 250 folk, to now SPFL football, and even just last week having 1,300 for a league game? It must be a huge difference, a task for you.
Definitely a huge different challenge. You're right what you're saying. When going back to the East of Scotland, it was like 50 to maybe even 50 to 75. If you got Whitehill or maybe Stirling Uni or something like that, it was slightly higher. It was sort of we were sort of the 3 top teams at the time. Then going into the Lowland League, you had like East Kilbride coming in and a couple of teams for the West. It sort of went up a wee level. But obviously, fast forward to now, there's obviously licence requirements. Things have got to be a lot sort of slicker and safer, and medical provisions I've touched on before, stewarding. There was only like the last couple of seasons of the Lowland League, I would only probably get like 2 stewards for maybe, well, Bonnyrigg maybe half a dozen, but like for maybe Celtic B, Hearts B, Trinent, with a sort of more livelier and busier games. But now, you've got to, it's part of the safety operation. You can't operate a game without stewards. So a massive difference. Even just like external toilets need to be used for every game now. They were sort of used sparingly back in the day. Outside kiosk. For next season, we probably need to look at sort of refurbishing the top kiosk and maybe try to utilise that a wee bit more, just to take the strain away from the existing one. But yeah, but it's where we wanted to be. It was always my ambition when I qualified as a safety officer. I think it was 2016. I completed the course. I did my final assessment against Linfield, which is an interesting, game to do your final assessment with. But it's good.
We'll come on to your role at the Community Foundation in a little moment, but over the past years since promotion to the SPFL, I mean, you were at the game against Brecon, at the game against Albion. How much did that mean for you, as you know, being someone involved with Spartans for so long? How much did that mean to you to see the club promote and really progress where they should be?
What actual day?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, the biggest challenge for me and sort of Choo that day is we sort of basically, the way the ground was laid out that day, it was, and we obviously had the issues with the younger teams, and then they ended up putting the 2 sets of ultras at the same end, which was great. So we sort of ended up sort of taking over and running that game. So the biggest challenge initially in putting your emotions to one side is make sure that everybody sort of stayed off the pitch. Because if you remember, it was just that wee wall you could vault over. But I mean, if you see that, I've still got obviously the video on my phone now, that Choo sort of filming it because he's a lot bigger and he can get over everybody. You see the emotion and the celebrations. I mean, it was, that'll live with me forever. That finally making that breakthrough, everybody wanted it, for the supporters to everybody at the club, foundation. So that's so emotional, but really, really happy. Got a few bricks pelted at the bus on the way back down the road. But once we we had some party that night.
It's amazing, obviously, going through the Lowland League and then getting into the SPFL, and then since then some experiences for you in your safety officer aspect as well, because that then opens up opportunities to play bigger teams, like Premiership teams. Even this season, you got to go to Dundee United as part
brilliant.
Of your safety officer role.
It was really, really good experience for me. But going back to I mean, I think the first game we had was Dundee United,
Yeah.
and Hendel's popped up again, scored a vital goal to win the game. I mean, that was challenging, obviously. We didn't get to use that new stand that day either
That's
because of some stuff with the council. But that was, I think we had 2,200 that day. And try to get Jim Goodwin and his staff off the pitch at the end of that. But so that was like right away. It was like baptism by fire. And then on the Tuesday night, we get Falkirk. Two guys ejected after like 7 minutes, just proper kicking off. And like, and then the first game's Clyde. So it was a real baptism of fire. But you know, it prepared you for what was ahead. So aye.
And what was ahead was a sold out 3,500, 12:15 live on BBC One. Not just the 2 cameras and me and George in the tower.
No.
It was the full BBC One Scotland squad. 21 cameras, I think there was at the time.
Aye.
How was that preparing that Scottish Cup game against Hearts?
I mean, like, it was special for me. Put in context, like, I'm born and bred 2 streets down for the academy, so I used to climb into Ainsley Park as a young laddie and play on overgrown pitches, thinking I was pretending to be a Hearts player. So it was really special for me to be sort of in charge of a game against the Hearts. But I mean, the draw was made. It was Sunday after we beat Aberystwyth.
Yes, yeah.
So it was like 9 weeks, thankfully, because it's normally only 4 weeks turnaround between the ties. 9 weeks, and I was just like, I had a few of my mates in for the draw, and we'd had a few pints in my hut and all that, so we're all buzzing, and the draw's made. You're like, oh, brilliant, phone's gone, and then you wake up on the Monday morning, and like speak to Hearts right away, speak to Brian O'Malley at the council, and you're like, right, we're gonna have to get the head down here. So I basically wrote me off. My own sort of, obviously my foundation job, but probably for my family. I mean, I hardly spoke to our missus or the Baines for about 9 weeks, which isn't a bad thing. So it was all focused on that, and there was a lot of organising. I'm not going to lie, it was obviously stressful, a huge challenge, but I mean, so good to have sort of obviously pulled it off without any. I think there was one ejection for somebody urinating behind the grass banking, but I think where we got lucky with that was obviously the relationship between the 2 sets of fans. I think it would have been the same if we'd have had a Hibs there as well, because so we did soft segregation, as you say. We got 3,500 in. I think there's maybe a few more in there as well, if I know what the chairman's like. But so proud to have been part of that, and to have obviously sort of pulled it off. And obviously the boys did the club proud on the day as well. So great. I enjoyed my pint that night.
We all did. We all did. Let's talk about the Spartans Community Foundation, previously Spartans Community Football Academy. As you said, you've been there for 17 years. You've obviously progressed throughout the years, and now into operations manager. I mean, I first met you, I think, when I was 13, and you were actually gave me a scolding because I kicked the dugout on the community pitch and actually broke one of the panels. That's how I first started with Spartans.
I think you're still due us for that, Kyle.
That was 15 years ago, we'll go with it. How much does the Community Foundation mean to you?
Oh, I mean, loads. When I joined, it was like I was probably at a bit of crossroads in my life when it came around, because I'd left Standard Life and I was just sort of like doing a bit of casual labouring, and it was just a chance conversation with my old man and Dougie, because we were neighbours, and I was still staying with my mum and dad at the time. I've known Dougie and Elaine for a long time, and Dougie just asked me to come along. I didn't know much about it. I came along and met him early in the January, and he was just looking for somebody to like take care of the nights, the back shift, if you like, and that suited me at the time. So and that's it. I just in there, and then 2000, I think it was 13. Colin retired. Worked under Colin Hutchison for my first 2 or 3 years. Learned a lot of Colin, and then I was offered to sort of take over for him as facility manager. And then that's when I first started doing that, the safety officer course. And then the operations managers sort of came around with a rejig that Dougie and Debbie were doing a couple of years ago. And it was the existing responsibilities I've got, but they'd obviously added to it more responsibilities like staff rotas and stuff like that. So, it's been a good journey, but I didn't take it for granted. I always thought I'd be at Standard Life for the rest of my days, and I wasn't. So, I mean, I've been here 17 years. I don't sit and think, 17 years, Ken. Just got to keep doing the business, I suppose, eh?
And for the community of North Edinburgh, as someone who grew up in North Edinburgh yourself, how much does the Community Foundation mean to folk out in North Edinburgh?
Everything. I mean, I've been off this week, but I was I took the dog out for a late walk a couple of nights ago, so I just chucked my big Spartans jacket on because it was cold. It was a wee bit cooler, and obviously the Bairns are in the park, Westport Park, because it's lighter nights and they're on holiday, and I'm like, Spartans, there's MICKTO for Spartans. You're like treated like a, and I'm not even the one that sort of works directly with them. You've got the extra time, the youth work, alternate school. They're the ones that sort of deal with these kids, but it just shows you like it's so recognising the community as a good thing and a good organisation, and along with there's different agencies in the area that do well as well, but it definitely means a lot to me to be part of it, and it continues to make sort of big strides in the area in a good way, and hopefully I can be part of it for a wee while yet.
Definitely, the Spartans Community Foundation means so much to so many people in North Edinburgh. Just shifting gears back to the football club, and this season it's been a good season. Obviously, disappointing result on Saturday against Stranraer. We're still in the promotion promotion race, with obviously East Kilbride dropping points on Saturday just past. For you, the opportunity to go up another league.
Mm-hmm.
What would that mean for you in terms of like your safety officer aspect and just for the football club in general?
Brilliant for me personally, my development. I'm still fairly in terms of other safety officers, I'm still sort of fairly young and more inexperienced than the rest of them. But be great for me. Be great for the club. If we would be sat here and done this podcast, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, or even 4 or 5 years ago, me been part of the club for a while, and you're sitting here with 3 games to go with a chance of going into League One, you'd be like, what? So no, it's great. But I mean, whatever happens, I think the boys have been great this season. I think there was a lot of disappointment last season, and saying that we still finished 5th. We're never going to go back down, or obviously playoffs was the main aim, but the boys have been really, really good this season, and they can, regardless what happens, they can keep their heads high. But I'm still confident we can do something.
And growing up in North Edinburgh, like you said, as a football fan, was there any idols that you looked to like you said, you hopped over the fence at Ainsley Park and you pretended to be a Hearts player? Was there anybody growing up what you liked?
We John Robertson, John Colquhoun, Scott Crabbe, Gary Mackay, these guys for Hearts, which should be the sort of the team. All the guys were in the teams when I used to go to Tynecastle Route with my wee brother and my old man. So they would be the sort of guys you would idolise, and you'd have the old Bookter strips on and all the rest of it. So in terms of modern day players, I didn't really. I'm probably more modern. I loved watching Roy Keane back in the sort of late 90s, early 2000s, but what I struggle with, especially English football now. I really struggle watching it. The Premier League's always been really exciting this year, but there's not really any modern day players that sort of float my boat. Apart from the Spartans ones.
Of course, good save at the end.
Aye.
And then finally, MICKTO, over the past couple of seasons, you mentioned Dundee United in the League Cup. You mentioned obviously in the Scottish Cup as well. Played Aberdeen in the late stages of the League Cup. Also, being in their draws, we could attract obviously Celtic and Rangers. But I think the question is, maybe is it a relief from your side that we didn't draw Celtic and Rangers at home this season in the Cup?
I actually had this conversation with my missus when we were waiting on the draw. When was the draw? It was a Sunday night, eh?
That's
I
right,
was sitting
yeah.
watching it with our dad. And I was sort of like, we're going to get them sooner we're going to get there sooner or later. So I wouldn't say I was quite relaxed about it. If they come out, we just need to... I mean, it'd be a totally different operation in my mind already. I'd know how I'd have to try and do it and liaise with this person and go and see a council, but it'd be a totally different operation to the Hearts one. You probably need the SAS rather than Stewart's, but I just think that it'll happen Monday. So we'll make sure we're ready for it. But we've had some decent sort of ties the first 2-3 seasons since we've come into the sort of big time. So, but no, it'll happen one day.
Definitely. Paul, MICKTO, I should say, thank you for
less of the Paul stuff.
Got told before coming on here, do not call me Paul. MICKTO, thank you very much for joining us.
Listen, thanks for having me, mate.
On the Spartan Army podcast, proudly brought to you by Jav's Decorating Services. So that's it for this week's episode of the Spartan Army podcast. A massive thank you to Paul McMillan, otherwise known as MICKTO, for their insight. Also to Chris Sim, the Spartans women's assistant head coach. Also to Bradley Whyte and from Ben from Annan Athletic for all their contributions to the Spartan Army podcast. Wherever you're listening, either on Spotify or on YouTube, make sure that you leave a comment in terms of what you would like to see in the Spartan Army future over the off-season, and we'll try to bring you some more exclusive interviews as the season rolls on. It's a very, very good day, and have a great weekend. I'm on the Spartans.